Hi, I'm Tim and welcome to WatchYouWant.com. Thanks for logging on. Today we're looking at the Hublot Big Bang Unico all carbon. Now this watch is an exceptional piece of modern Hublot history because in a lot of ways this was Hublot finally all grown up. Not just the look, not just the attitude, but the real watchmaking cred to make it comparable or at least competitive with the high horology from Audemars Piguet. Now in 2005, Hublot debuted the Big Bang, and it was a sensation. It was a sensation because it had that attitude. It was raw. It had vibe. It had presence. What it didn't necessarily have was that watchmaking content, the engineering under the hood, to walk the walk the way it talked the talk. Now, in 2009, Hublot debuted two landmarks. First, there was the King Power case. A complete redesign of the original Hublot look. It was bigger, it was bolder. It had all the right lines, all the right shapes, and the wrist presence that celebrities, rockers, rap stars, pro athletes, and heads of state, famous and infamous, had come to expect from Hublot. But what it also had was that second landmark, the Unico movement. For once, Hublot had done its homework, built watchmaking content into its signature oversized sports watch, and the technophiles lauded it. The bottom line is the Unico gives Hublot the street cred among the watchmaking set, the high horology set, to go toe-to-toe with AP, with Rolex, with Zenith. And let's talk a little bit about what the Unico brings to the table. First and foremost, it's an in-house movement. It's designed and made in Hublot's own facilities, and it is a 72-hour column wheel chronograph with a couple of interesting refinements that really set it apart. First of all, 72-hour power reserve, that goes toe-to-toe with the Rolex Daytona's industry benchmark caliber 4130, and it comfortably exceeds the 55-hour power reserve of the Audemars Piguet 3126 and the Royal Oak offshores. So advantage Hublot. What it also has is a cool aesthetic that makes it just as striking from the rear and the front, and that's not something you can say about all complicated chronograph calipers. Now, what I can draw your attention to is the way the movement is integrated into the styling of the case and the watch dial. Now, it's not really a skeleton dial so much as it's a naked dial. There's nothing cut away here, aside from the hour track with its applied indexes and the rehaut with the calibrations of the minute track. All you're looking at here is the sapphire disc bearing the date wheel, some skeletonized sub-registers, and the main plate itself. Everything's basically laid bare for you to see, including at 6 o'clock, talking about watchmaking content, that column wheel. Now watch me cycle the chronograph here, and you can actually see it turn at 6 o'clock. The column wheel is the classical chronograph actuator. What that means is that it's the hard way to make a chronograph. It's the expensive way to make a chronograph. It's not the way Hublot of 2005 would have done things, but the Hublot of today is a different animal. It's crisper. It feels like a luxury watch. In the hand, when you touch the pusher, there's almost like a rifle bolt sensation. You get that feel of using a precision instrument, not a doughy, marginal, what's called coulisse chronograph system. This isn't a 7750, folks. You're in the age of Unico now. And I mentioned that there are some cool refinements that really set this watch apart, even in the high horology set. So let's talk a little bit about that. Now, large parts of the escapement in this watch are completely amagnetic, not anti-magnetic, they're just immune. The entire pallet and escapement wheel are constructed out of a silicon material that can't be magnetized. You can put it through an MRI and it won't pick up any kind of magnetic field, magnetization, no lingering ill effects. And it's that kind of materials revolution that you're used to seeing on the exterior of an Hublot case, but this watch is the first time we've seen it on the inside. Now, since we've gone over some of the key features of the Unico movement and the refinements of the dial, let's talk a little bit about the case. Now, this is the Big Bang King Power case that debuted in 2008. That was our first glance at this. 48 millimeters, it's a bigger and bolder bang. It is a bigger bang, so to speak. Now, the 48 millimeters actually wears reasonable on the wrist, and as you know, I have a 6 1/3 inch wrist. That's 16 centimeters for our friends using the metric system. Let me just pop that on my wrist so you can get a sense of how it fits me. Now, granted, it's huge. There's no getting around it. It's designed to look big on any wrist, not just mine. What it gets right is the ergonomics. It's the most wearable, enormous watch you'll ever see in your life. And part of that's down to the short, tapered lugs, the fact that they use a natural rubber strap that conforms very nicely, and a case back that's flat and doesn't have any protruding parts or an obtrusive screwed-on case back that bubbles out like you see on some aggressive dive references. It sits flat on the wrist. If you're cool with the big watch look, it's never going to fit under a dress cuff. French cuffs are its nemesis, but this watch is comfortable, no doubt. And now the bottom line is that the case itself is also an exaggerated form of that original Big Bang. You can see that it's got more layering to it, both in the striated rubber encircled bezel and in the sandwich structure of the case itself. Now the Big Bang was famous for its multi-layer case, but this all carbon takes that to the next level because, again, this is where the iPhone kind of betrays me, but you can see the multi-layer woven sandwich structure of the carbon fiber that comprises the top and bottom plate of this case. Carbon fiber is a modern material that's ubiquitous in America's Cup racing, Formula One, all forms of motorsports, aerospace engineering. It's really the now material. Just as silicon is becoming the engineering material for high-end watch movements, carbon fiber is emerging as one of the premier materials for big watches that also have to be lightweight. You have a beautiful cosmetic top coat weave on both the bezel and the lugs, on the tops of the lugs, on the flanks of the case. You get a tremendous amount of texture with carbon. Because it is layered, it is a woven cloth, it is dipped in resin, and then it's autoclaved, that is cooked to stabilize it. It's basically a cloth that's been doped and then fried. So you're actually looking at an advanced, kiln-fired, stabilized, state-of-the-art 21st century composite cloth here. It's very different from the ceramics, the steels, even in some cases the precious metals, the golds, the platinums. This is just a completely different treatment of a case. It's a completely different philosophy of what a luxury watch should be. This is less is more. This is light defining luxury. This is technology defining refinement. So if you're looking for a watch that is different, that is very much au courant in terms of its detailing, its size, its wrist presence, that has all that Hublot's known for in terms of outrageous flamboyance, but with the refinement that you expect from something like an AP, like a Vacheron, the toughness that you expect of a Rolex or a Breitling. This Hublot Big Bang King Power All Carbon with full box and papers is available from watchyouwant.com. I encourage you to give it a look on our website, watchyouwant.com. If you're seeking something that's big, bold, but also fine, I think this Unico Big Bang King Power All Carbon might just be the watch you want.